Hey guys, so today I'm going to be making pretty much a discussion type of video. This will be about my very fond memories with the Sonic the Hedgehog comics. And by that, I mean just the Archie comics. I am aware of the ones that were published by Fleetway Editions called Sonic the Comic, and honestly, I've never been really interested in those because I don't know, there's like a lot of weird stuff. And like some of the designs seemed off at times, but yeah, but as a whole, they didn't really seem as interesting in the art. They didn't seem as interesting as the Archie version. But anyways, going back on topic, I first heard about the Sonic Archie comics when I entered the extras menu in Sonic Mega Collection Plus for PS2 and Xbox, and alongside playing the Sonic Genesis and Game Gear games for the first time there. That was the first time I've known the comics were a thing. And yes, it's exactly what you're seeing in this footage right now. Just pretty much reliving my nostalgia with it, as I've done that a lot of times when I was a kid. And I know a lot of people have done this as well, though most people have played the GameCube version of it. So around 2011, when I was in 5th grade, I decided to start buying the comics by going to the Archie Comics website and just choosing the ones that I really wanted, like just the ones I wanted the most, that seemed pretty interesting to me. And the first one I bought was the Sonic First Super Special, and it basically has reprints of stories from the older comics, such as I think issue 0 of the Sonic miniseries, issue 3, and issue 4 from the main comic series, also issue 13. And that's when I read them that's where I read them for the first time, and I gotta say they were like pretty cool. I also bought the 5th issue of Sonic X, which had a pretty interesting plot. It's when Eggman seemingly plays with the Chow, and he then tells his henchman that he managed to grow one of his own after cutting Cheese's wing from 2 issues ago. He broadcasts the signal, and it transforms the Chow into the Dark Chow from Sonic Adventure 2. After that, he shows them his own breed of Chow Garden that he made thanks to the cutting he took from Cheese. So afterwards, he decides to make his own ad on television, persuading people to order Chow, and he eventually turns them all into Dark Chows, causing problems for Sonic and Friends, which carries on into the next issue, which is issue 6. And yeah, I remember being super surprised when Sonic X got its own comic series back then, because I've always thought it was just an anime only thing, but wow, I was even remotely surprised when I saw them on the Archie Comics website. But yeah, I've only read the first 25 issues of it, and I think most of them had pretty cool and very what's the word, pretty satisfying and pretty epic plots. I gotta say, I think the 10th and 11th issues were my favorites, so I really love those. So alongside that, I also started buying the Sonic the Hedgehog archives, which were reprints of the main comic series, and that was the very first time I got to read most of them. And if you haven't read any of the older Sonic comics yet, I highly recommend getting the Sonic Archives novels. It's really perfect for someone like me who has never bought the original issues. So I bought the Sonic Archives volumes 1 to 8, to which I have read the first 32 issues. And for the most part, I actually enjoyed them. I think for about the first 25 issues or so, the series was actually a comedic, joke-driven children's comic, and it basically had basically had the same premise as the Sonic Sadie M series, but I think the earlier ones were pretty much more closer to the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. But I gotta say though, I think the first 15 issues had many moments that were meticulously entertaining, charming, and often at times really funny. There's this one moment in the first issue where Sonic leaves the secret underground village of Naho with Sally, and while he does, he says this: "Come on, Sally, it's about time I got to show my stuff." This comic book still calls Sonic the Hedgehog, isn't it? And not gonna lie, I actually started cracking up the first time I read this part because I showed it to my brother one time, but then he was like, "How does he know he's in a comic book?" And yes, I know that is fourth wall breaking. It took me a couple years after that to realize, because though I might have seen something like it beforehand, where it was like a character speaking to the audience kind of thing, but not what they implied that they're in a television show, movie, or video game. And then on top of that, Sonic says it again in the 4th issue, where he says that the comic book is named after him, and like that just made me laugh so much harder. Like, I actually fell off my chair. Like, oh my god! Like, I forgot how funny these early Sonic comics were. Like I think they're pretty much like self-aware and like they just like know that like he just pretty much knows that he's in the comic book. Like, I seriously love that. That just cracks me up to this day. So yeah. Anyway, one story I actually liked was from issue 2, where it reminded me so much of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, where Robotnik sends coconuts to attack Sonic, who runs around the Great Forest with Tails, and they get get ambushed by the Monkey Bot himself. And after they defeat him, Robotnik then has Scratch and Grounder go take down Sonic. And they managed to get him with the rope, but unfortunately they start fighting over who gets the glory, giving Sonic a chance to take them down. As a result, Robotnik yells out his catchphrase from the cartoon. Another story I liked was the one from issue 8, which I first read through Sonic Archives Volume 2, where Robotnik punishes Crabbeats after the former was reading Sonic comics, thus breaking the latter's rules, and he brings Crabbeats to the spare parts I don't know how to pronounce that. To scrap him along with the SWAT bots that brought him in. Later, he's at the Great Forest doing a speech while commemorating, only to be interrupted by Sonic. Also, I just love this part right here where he straight up runs over Robotnik, like while Robotnik was trying to finish his sentence of the former showing up. Like, I don't know why I find this part so hilarious. It just gets me every time. Anyway, after that, Robotnik signals Botman, who is a parody of Batman, and Sonic easily gets his butt kicked, but he later prevails. Robotnik then tries to get a Wolverine bot, but a Wolverine bot is sent instead, and Sonic says that his voice sounds familiar, and then the editors tell the readers that Jaleel White was the one that voiced Sonic in the classic cartoons. Then Robotnik sends out a bunch of other bots, which are pretty much superhero parodies, I think, because I did read that on the wiki. And Sonic takes them down with pretty much little to no effort. So yeah, this was a pretty great issue, like, especially the story. Like, I just love every second of it when I first read it back when I was a kid. A very funny story I read was the one from issue 10 called Revenge of the Nerbs, which I first read through Sonic Archives Volume 3. And there were a lot of moments in this story that had me laughing my butt up to no end. So it starts off with Sonic dodging some landmines with his speed, then allows Rotor to dig up the ground to find electrical cables buried underneath. He then finds 2 identical cables and disconnects one of them, which ends up triggering a huge force field. Suddenly, a weird-looking creature called a Nerb conveniently pops out of a hole, telling the Freedom Fighters that it's Nerb property, but they ignore what he says and use the tunnel to escape the force field. They eventually meet the King of the Nerbs, who explains to them that the creatures themselves mixing with the outsiders could lead to trouble. Sonic offers them to team up with each other to stop Robotnik, but the King declines and tells them to leave. So the Freedom Fighters try to find their own way out, and they come across a door, which is the Mobius sewer system, which Tails insults it by saying it smells like moldy spaghetti sauce. Yeah, I guess that does kind of sound gross. After Sonic spin attacks it open, he follows where the sounds are coming from, and he sees Robotnik controlling a big digging robot, apparently making a large construction project. He also finds 3 Nerbs trapped in the same force field. Trapped in the same force field the Freedom Fighters were in earlier. Robotnik then attacks him with his drill, and Sonic's all like, "Yo, Robotnik!" Oh my god. Let me make it easy for ya. Try to get me. I'll stand perfectly still. Not. Oh my god, Sonic, you're killing me. So Sonic dodges the drill attack, causing the drill to hit the force field, thus freeing the NURBS. And as usual, they want to act like jerks, and Sonic then drags him out of there and tells the Freedom Fighters to take them to safety. Pretty much home, I think that's what he meant. After that, he races to a door that holds the Mobius River and spin attacks it, then attempts to run out the river. And here's this one intriguing and surprising moment in this part. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles actually made a cameo appearance in this. They mentioned that they're in the wrong sewer, or at least the wrong comic. Of course they know they're in the comic book as well, and when I first saw this, I was legitimately surprised that they actually showed up in the Sonic comic of all things. Oh my god. Oh my god, like I never thought I actually seen him like appear, like whether it's in the Sonic game, Sonic comic, or any other Sonic media. Wow, like this is probably the closest we got to a Sonic / TMNT crossover. Like I'm like what the I'm like what the oh my god, I'm so speechless right now. Oh my god, it just literally blew my mind that they showed up in the Sonic comic. Like, what the heck? But anyways, Sonic manages to make his way out of the sewer, and then Robotropolis is entirely lifted by the river, and the guys are blasting Robotnik away. Then after that, the NURBS finally respect the Freedom Fighters for saving them, and they reward them by becoming honorary NURBS? I don't know, that part kind of seemed weird to me. So yeah, it was actually a pretty great issue. Probably one of my favorites from the early Sonic comics. I remember there used to be a YouTube video of people dubbing the voices for this issue, and I was like, holy butt, this is so cool. It was way before I started YouTube, like around like 2011 or 2012, I might say. I tried finding it today and even searched it, but unfortunately, I couldn't, so I just assumed it was like deleted or taken down. But I recently saw one for one of the modern Sonic issues. I think it was 175. Yeah, that stuff was cool too. Issue 11 had an interesting plot where Sonic enters a secret zone that leads to a comic interstate. Afterwards, he runs into Evil Sonic, who's pretty much a precursor to Scourge the Hedgehog. You know, the one that appears in the modern issues. Unless he was Scourge the Hedgehog the whole time. I wonder. Also, there's one moment in this issue where Sonic straight up makes a Bugs Bunny reference. Oh man, that was clever. A few issues after that were decently good. I've always loved issue 13's story, where it was based on Sonic 3, and when Knuckles made his first appearance. I also liked issue 14's story, where Tails eats an apple from one of the big trees he grew, which makes him very smart and intelligent. Rotor figures out that Tails ate the apple from the tree of wisdom. And one funny part in this story is that Tails literally rambles on, and Sonic reminds him that he's covering most of the panel. Oh my god, that part is so funny. Like I seriously forgot how funny these early Sonic comics were. But yeah, definitely quite a funny story from this issue. I liked how the 5th volume of the Sonic Archives cover is a direct reference to the 19th issue, which had a story about Sonic teaming up with multiple versions of himself to take down this Robo Robotnik character. I don't really know too much about him. But he kind of seemed pretty intimidating. I also loved issue 25, which was a comic tie-in to Sonic CD. It shows Robotnik stealing Sonic Grand fan letters. One of the letters is from Amy Rose, who makes her first appearance in the comic series, by the way. And he immediately sends his new robot to kidnap her. But in such a short amount of time, like in the next page, he's shown to have captured her already, and I'm like, how the heck did he kidnap Amy that fast? Weird. Never really explained though. Huh. Anyway, later on in the issue, after Sonic finds out that Robotnik had kidnapped Amy, he races through the Collision Chaos Zone, and he encounters the new robot I mentioned earlier, called Metal Sonic, who's referred to as Mecha Sonic for some reason. And he speaks too, unlike in the games, barring Sonic Heroes. Alright, and they race through Stardust Speedway, and in the end, where after Sonic showcases his super peel-outs, the figure 8 move, he manages to disable Metal Sonic, and he wins, therefore rescuing Amy and also Tails, who was captured before the main event. This was pretty good too. I recommend reading. I highly recommend reading this too. Really some good stuff in it. Sonic Archives Volume 8 was where I first read issues 29 to 32, and 31 was when the comic series started having inclusions of the Knuckles solo stories, which were only 2 pages long, and it once made me get invested in reading the comics that had Knuckles and the Chaotix, and that's when the Sonic Select books come in. So I bought the first 2 Sonic Select books back in 2012, and they had reprints of the Sonic specials, which I read for the first time. I think the best ones I've read were probably the Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic Triple Trouble, Knuckles Chaotix, and my favorite one of them being Super Sonic and Hyper Knuckles. I really love the Knuckles Chaotix one, where we see Knuckles meet the Chaotix crew for the first time. Charmy, SPO, Vector, and even Mighty. And of course, after they introduce themselves later on, we see that Robotnik is up to no good again. Because earlier he managed to trap the Freedom Fighters in the mirrors, right? And he summons Metal Sonic again, and he orders him to take on Knuckles and the Chaotix. He finds the crew, and they all begin their battle with them. The fight was pretty darn good. It was cool. I do like how in this moment right here, where Knuckles and Vector use the ring power to attack Metal Sonic. And here's this amazing part where Mighty's all like, "Hey Mecha Sonic, how'd you like a nice tropical punch?" And he just straight up Falcon punches the crud out of Metal Sonic. Like, god dang, I love that part. That's what makes Mighty so cool. I don't think it's something that we see him do in the games. Not even made. Oh yeah, he also does that in Sonic Mania Adventures. No, I'm just not realizing. I'm just not remembering that. So they defeat Metal Sonic, or so it seems. Turns out that Mecha Sonic grows to gigantic size with the power gem, to which Knuckles uses to become bigger sized as well. And he then beats the ever-living crud out of Mecha Sonic, and eventually frees the Freedom Fighters who were trapped in mirrors in the beginning. And in the end, Knuckles had made his own Freedom Fighter-like team after saving the day. Alright, so let's get into this. Alright, so let's get into my favorite one, Super Sonic vs. Hyper Knuckles. So it starts off with Sally noticing Knuckles wandering about, and she tells Sonic to go have a talk with them. And somehow Tails just breaks the fourth wall, saying that the Sonic and Knuckles won't start fighting until page 6. So that was pretty clever right there. And while Knuckles is at Robotropolis, he flashbacks to what happened prior to this, and it's where we see Mighty interacting with him. Yet another instance not present in the games. After that, Sonic appears behind him, punches him, and then they start a fight. Afterwards, Sally arrives onto the scene, and she shows him the gateway to the unknown zone. And after Knuckles jumps in, Sally mentions that they used to hang out together, which makes Sonic question when the heck did she ever do that. And then Sally just tells him to go in anyway. So after collecting 50 rings and all 7 Chaos Swords, which are all green for some reason, Sonic goes super and Knuckles becomes Hyper Knuckles. They engage in a fight once again, and yeah, it was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing to see Sonic and Knuckles fighting in their Super States. another thing that we never see in the games, but still cool as always. So yeah, I've always loved reading this part, ever since, it was so gosh darn cool, back when I was 12 years old when I first read it. So they eventually clash into each other in incalculable speed, and they create some sort of energy collision that makes the entire zone explode. Oh yeah, Robotnik is actually in the comic as well, and he breaks the fourth wall, saying that he's only in one page due to this being a 48-page special. So yeah, this was a very impressive action-packed special issue. I highly recommend checking this out because it definitely has some good stuff in it. I really love this comic so much. I remember talking about it in one of my older videos. But yeah, that's everything about the early classic Sonic comics I've read thus far. I really plan on getting the Sonic Archives volumes 9, 10, and 11. So that's 16 more Sonic issues I'll be reading, because I'm finally buying these comics. I'm finally buying these comics again since 2012. I don't know why it took me this long to start buying Sonic comics again. I don't know what was wrong with me back then. But yeah, I also want to say that I've also read the first 4 issues of Sonic Universe, which was the Shadow Saga, and it has some good stuff in there too. I think issues 3 and 4 are my favorites, like when Shadow meets up with Gamma for the first time, and then Omega shows up and then attacks them and all that stuff. And then the 4th issue, where we see Team Dark go through some sort of a special zone led by a Kung Fu Panda-like god. But yeah, I really love reading these as a kid. I would go on to summarize these, but I don't want to make this video too long. But there's one thing that's really worth mentioning here. So back in 2017, the comics had officially come to an end. Sega decided to end their partnership with the Archie comics, and has now passed it on to the IDW. And from what I've been hearing, the main Sonic comic series is actually the longest video game-paced comic book series ever, with nearly 300 issues. So that's insane, though. I even read this on a wiki, and it's even surpassed one of the Marvel comic series. I think it was Spider-Man or whatever it was. I don't know. But yeah, it was really sad that they could not reach the 300th milestone. But you know what they say, all good things must come to an end. But yeah, I know I'm 2 years late on discussing this, but hey, at least I finally got to. So like I said before, I plan on getting more of the Sonic comics, more so the ones I haven't read, like the Knuckles comics. Oh yeah, Knuckles actually got his own comic series, and I haven't read any of them yet. So, and I remember, yeah, because I did see on Sonic Mega Collection Plus, they did have some of the Knuckles comic covers here as well. So yeah, I am considering buying the Knuckles Archives, which has reprints of the stories from his comic series. So can't wait to do that. I also plan on getting some of the modern Sonic issues, some Sonic X issues I haven't read, some Sonic Universe comics too, and some Sonic Boom comics as well. Alright, and it seems that a lot of people are talking about this Ken Penders guy, who was one of the writers of most of the older comics, and they were saying that he was creating a lot of Echidna characters and many other questionable things he did. I don't know much about that dude, but wow, all that stuff from him was really weird. I think from what I've seen, I've saw it in a different video that yeah, he just created fan art of those Echidna characters, and wow, that was just creepy as heck. But yeah, another thing that I want to mention is that some were saying that the comic started in 1992, which kind of boggled my mind, because this whole time I thought it was since 1993. It even says itself on the back cover of the Sonic Archives novels. Huh. But anyways guys, that's pretty much my history with the Sonic the Hedgehog Archie comics. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to share your memories with the Sonic Archie comics, feel free to leave one down below. Though I'm gonna assume most of you have read more of these comics than I did. Alright, and right now they're releasing IDW comics. I don't know when they started releasing those. I believe it was around the start of last year. I believe it was around the start of last year. And from what I've seen, they do look remotely impressive. But right now, I'm just more interested in getting the Archie ones I haven't read. You know, like Sonic Archives Volumes 10, Volumes 9, 10, and 11, the Knuckles ones, so on and so forth. So that's everything I wanted to say in this video. Next videos are when I'll be starting my playthroughs, which are Sonic 3D Blast Director's Cut and Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, the video game. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you all in my next video. So peace out and take care.